Graves can be covered with earth, but once exhumed, it is difficult to bury them again. The contents that are brought to the surface are now known. Ford Cruller shattered his mind in order to hide away many things. In doing so, the consequences of his actions were not dealt with. But now, as he and Raz enter the Green Needle Gulch, these consequences are fully explored. Standing in the center of the gulch is the Heptadome. This place is the home of many things, the original base of operations and genesis of the Psychonauts, deposits of a large amount of Psytanium, and what will be the main focus of this video, the experiments into the human psyche that the original 7 members performed. In the previous section, we learned that Ford used a powerful device known as the astrolabe on Lucretia, her nephew Augustus, and himself. The results of these actions are the central focus of the plot. The drama of the narrative are simply consequences of these actions. Automentalis created the device for the sole purpose of making permanent alterations to the psyche. The hubris of believing that intentionally making alterations to the way someone's brain functions is like a child playing with fire. Even if the motives are pure, I personally wouldn't trust anyone with this power. Even if they took Boyd and forced his pyromania to be sealed away, I wouldn't trust what unintended consequences they could unleash. These actions fundamentally go against the mission statement of the Psychonauts as expressed by Agent Forsyth. It is the attempt of a third party to artificially fix someone rather than give them the tools to fix themselves. Rasputin enters the Heptadome and sees the device overgrown with vines and swarming with bees. Here, in this gloomy place, we discover exactly what the Psychonauts did that caused this crisis. Not just Ford with his use of the astrolabe. Before that, all 7 psychics played their roles in crossing boundaries which should never be played with.
It was an age of exploration. We got into some pretty far-out stuff here. We all pushed each other to go farther, to broaden our consciousness, to open every closed door in our minds.
One theme that this game tried to give more focus to is the ethics of what the Psychonauts do. Near the beginning, Raz enters Hollis's mind and makes intentional changes. Is it done with the intention of improving her mental health? No, it was for selfish reasons. Putting aside the fact that his actions were fueled by peer pressure, he still did it solely because they all wanted to go to the casino mission. This really goes to show that this kind of power without a strict code of ethics is a dangerous mixture. Using this as a base theme for our protagonist, we can critique other characters through the same lens, specifically the original Psychic 7 and the things they did in the Green Needle Gulch. Ford admits that in the Gulch, they all dabbled in things that shouldn't be done. Diving deep into everyone's psyche, opening doors that were better left closed. There was no moral code of ethics for them, only pure exploration, science without the forethought of caution. The consequences of these people's reckless disregard for the dangers that lie inside the human mind are what ultimately led to the strife we are forced to deal with. Lucretia Mux left with the door open. When she went home to Grulovia and was subjected to the stresses of war, something crawled out. Without their meddling, the rise of Maligula likely would never have happened. So many people would be alive now if the Psychic 7 had a degree of humility and caution. While it may be an overused quote, Dr. Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park once said,
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
Unfortunately for the mindset of someone who doesn't think of the consequences of their actions, it usually takes a painful experience to make them learn this lesson. An example I use involves trying to teach a toddler not to touch a hot oven. If the kid listens to this warning, everything is fine. If the warnings are ignored, sooner or later the kid will get burned. After this, they know that this action causes pain and is probably not a good idea to do it again. For the Psychic 7, they behaved like this child, unlocking parts of the human psyche that should remain untouched, and as we all know, they got burned. Not from flames, but by one of their own members who went on to become the Deluge of Grulovia. When dealing with the subject of therapy and psychology in general, one must tread carefully. Fragile states of minds can be highly malleable. They can easily be projected upon. Essentially, what happened to Lucretia is they took an otherwise healthy mind and cracked it open a bit, leaving her in a vulnerable state. From there, the stressors of war, the directives of the people around her, and eventually the death of her sister, warped her way of thinking. unlocking a demon that otherwise would have been kept on a leash. The experiments being performed in Green Needle Gulch essentially took the prison cell where certain things remain held and broke them all out just to see what they could learn. As mentioned in the Tomb of the Sarcophagus, some things held in the mind are due to traumatic experiences. Some things, though, are instincts that all of us have but are kept under control. They serve a purpose as needed, but always need to be put back in the bottle once we are done. The founding members of the Psychonauts pulled things out of the bottle, and in the case of Lucy, forgot to put it back before she left. The contents were allowed to run rampant and influence how she reacted to the world, how she responded to stressors. Their negligence is responsible for what happened. The exact nature of what was released will be the subject of a future video. With all that said, Raz is instructed by Ford to prepare the astrolabe to be used again and in the exact same way. One definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. Ford's solution is simply to try and fix Lucy again, hoping this time Maligula won't return. As we learned in his previous level, repressing something doesn't deal with the problem. It merely digs a deeper hole and throws the coffin in. All it is doing is kicking the can down the road and hoping that this situation doesn't happen again. Hollis informs Raz that Psychonauts as an organization do not exist to fix people. They are there to give people the tools to fix themselves. By using the astrolabe again, we go against this directive. And as we see, this is not what ends up truly helping her, but that story will have to wait until we get to her mental worlds. For now, Raz needs to get rid of the bees and prune the vines. First, let's head up that honey-covered hill and visit another of the original Psychonauts. See you all next time for Cassie's collection. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, please drop a like and subscribe to receive updates on future uploads. If you would like to help support the channel, a Patreon has been set up and the link is in the description below. Have a great day and peace be with you all.